Give him the slurp. Give him the knob slop 3000. With the glitzy gobbler 3000 twist. I wonder if it'll have sound this time. It has sound this time.
Time to fight.
Oh, it looks like the target drones got activated and... Oh, how cute! They're engaging the X-42 giant robo-scorpion. Let's see the
Was that all?
pre-recorded attack message indicating my desire to commit violence on you.
Yes. Ow! Something exploded. Okay, have fun. I love you. Thanks.
Crush them with your pincers!
This one looks
You
pretty
got
tough.
the voice. Crush them with your pincers!
Stop blasting me with that shit.
That's all.
Also, apparently, the X-42 is the biggest enemy in the game.
Time to fight.
I don't want fucking layer.
This is a pre-recorded attack message indicating my desire to commit violence on you. X-42, attack in the name of Mobius!
Fuck it.
You'll never defeat me!
Keep on your feet.
Almost died.
Fighting over.
Oh. Oh, this is gonna take some silly fucking games my favorite things. Finally. Find the samples for the biological off.
They said I was mad. Preposterous. Not an angry bone in my body. Had them all removed.
Ah, Mobius was.
Oh, hello there. You are there, aren't you? Forgive my confusion. So hard to tell these days. You seem familiar. Little... Depth perception is a problem with it. Should look at getting... I have all sorts of amazingly science-erific thoughts and ideas when those chalky tablets are zipping through my biogel. I forget them all not long after, though, especially with the data constipating my memory core. Afraid binary streams might shoot out my chassis. Had to start using the dome floor and... Really? That implies After all... And does it... Oh, a variety of raisins. You're something of a homily. Anomaly? You're really quite special, and not in the... You see, you are the most... If you were to go back, your brain could be popped back in... I'm not sure, except that I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. I have very good reasons for almost everything I do.
Got very good reasons.
Even if I forget. The ghosts aren't real? That changes everything. Please be my guest. Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. So many chems, such variety. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank all switched up. Well, every scientist... Then... Did I? You and your... Dr. Mobius. This name... Someone's been watching too many old worlds. I must admit I have a vulnerability. Now, trap is a rather harsh word, like excrement. No, but yes, I certainly didn't. The radar fence to keep the think tank. I suspect I have Plan 9s in place, but I may have coded myself to forget them, just... So I had to do... Oh, you figured it out. Dr. O, which is actually not his real name multiplied, since you can't multiply his real name in the first place. Ouroboros, Klein, they have all I reprogrammed their chronometers, geometers, and cartography It was a merciful lobotomy, and the world isn't ready for that kind of... Really? Well, it's simple. Just without... Then you came along. There have been other... You were irrefutable proof that there was a... See, your brain...
The only wrinkle is the one that bullet me going through my...
Yes, very good. I should have Mentats ingest you instead of the other way around. Mentats. In any event, you showed up at the thing. Bullets in the head are usually much more but it was enough for the autodoc in the sink to... That gave the think tank the knowledge its brains couldn't possess. With that knowledge, if they obtain that procedural data, they can use it to mush and modify their cranial selves and... Yes, I certainly... I consider coincidence to be profanity, along with the words astrology, herbal tea, and luck. So watch it, potty mouth. My threat broadcast is... It prompted... And coincidentally... Oh. Yes, my overly aggressive... Oh, and the get me the things to castrate your only possible escape attempt. But I couldn't delete you or your arrival anymore. You're really quite difficult to ignore, you know. The X2 antenna can be used to focus your alpha wave frequency thought patterns. The sneaky suit? Why, it houses a cardiac regulator. And the sonic sound wave projecto emitter. In short, brains, a heart, and courage. Spine. I think there was a story once where a band of murderous thugs sought these things. They had them all the time in the story. Didn't stop them from murdering to get them. And it won't stop the think tank either. Indeed.
I love movies. My brain, though, is probably my favorite character in the whole goddamn series. My brain's an asshole.
Well, well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been? Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again? Ah, lovely. Figured that out, have we? Would you like a cookie?
Why are you such a dick?
Well, that's a fine how do you do. Me, quote, dick, unquote. As if I'm the one responsible for the way you carry on gadding about the wastes. I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on missions of ill-conceived revenge. And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Do you think I enjoyed that little moment?
Oh, come on, that's the
Fun? Fun? Is tetanus fun? Is rickets? What about sepsis, huh? Enjoy that, do we? The things you do with our body are suicidally dangerous, and if you could silence your glandular impulses, you would hear me screaming at you! I'm not going to lie to you. The prospect is definitely not that appealing. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet, and safety. Well, barring the odd rogue scorpion. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you. All motivated by nothing but an imbalance in certain brain chemicals. The tank corrects for that. I feel no urge toward antisocial behavior. Well, certainly there might be Helios 1 coming back online. But still, given the tremendous, potentially life-ending peril that went along with those... Yes, I... Oh no! Please, don't leave me here in this nice, safe dome. Please don't deprive me of being... It's true, the brains here have experienced some degree... After the think tank extracted me, Dr. Mobius... I don't know. I'm afraid the trauma... I'm quite... Hardly. Dr. The meat...
The meat has returned.
If you... First? Third, you need to listen to me more than your hormonal... Really? Let me see. I suppose you... Unless, of course... What for...
Fine!
And you... Oh.
I'm going to give them a demonstration of the physics behind small, fast-moving chunks of lead.
Now that you... What? That arrangement suits me fine. Right then, you... No, don't worry about me. When I'll keep myself hidden in the ductwork. Klein will... I can also upgrade the sink's auto-dock with any luck.
Now it's time.
Are we being watched?
Probably. Save. This DLC is almost... And I broke my fucking... I had that much rat poisoning. Jesus, I had that much rat poisoning. How much rat poisoning? Thank you. To end this. Doesn't crash. It's been good so far.
The lobotomites return. No.
Hi, Klein.
Fighting over.
I was. Let's go say goodbye to Muggy. Oh, no, I can't.
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the most powerful minds of the 23rd century. The courier who had been brought to the Big Empty became its new overlord, using its facilities ruthlessly and decisively when needed. Sometimes, science is more than a quest for discovery. It is a weapon to be used in the service of one with the strength to understand it.
The courier had scoured much of the Big Empty, although secrets still remained in the crater's depths. Perhaps that was for the best, however. Curiosity, while sometimes rewarded for its efforts, often proves to be equally dangerous.
Dr. Mobius continued his research undisturbed in the Forbidden Zone. As much as he had attempted to create better scorpions, he tried the same with humanity, with considerably less success. These failures didn't bother him overmuch. Once the rush of mentats wore off, he forgot he had failed in any event. After all, the bright young mind who had come to visit him in the Forbidden Zone had already exceeded his expectations.
The sink atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The Biological Research Station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to the magneto-hydraulics plant and nearly flooded all the Big Empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean. Once it learned of the innovative toxins plant, however, it gained new purpose. It sought to develop antitoxins to flush into its drains and counteract the poisons bleeding into the soil.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. It learned several new murderous techniques from the courier and built a blood shrine to itself in the Cuckoo's Nest. The cave floor was soon filled with the horror of 100 gutted toasters. A silent, grisly, unplugged audience. Their purpose? To toast bread. Unfulfilled.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy. Except, he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind eye old Jefferson.
eventually discovered a new sound. Silence. It only made him more filled with the blues than before. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X-8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt worn, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after the stealth suit had left it without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
The courier left the brain at the Big Empty. A strange thing to say, but it was the truth. Brains are less important than they may seem. When the courier's body finally passed, the brain was saddened. It kept on, remembering the vessel that had once contained it. And so it burbled and bubbled inside its tank, smug that it still could dream its future without glands getting in the way. In time, however, it became so self-obsessed, it wondered if perhaps nothing existed except itself. It decided to test this by turning the weapons of the Big Empty against each other and seeing what happened. The answer is lost to history, as is much of the Mojave.
The think tank basement, filled with lobotomized robotical frames of the doctors, now served as a graveyard. The monitors had recorded the battle in its entirety, including the think tank's final, shrill, terrified screams, whimpers, and pleas for mercy. They broadcast these humiliating last moments as a warning to anyone approaching the perimeter that other smarty pants were not welcome. The courier was the inheritor of the Big Empty, and there was room for only one will in the halls of the think tank dome.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
The Big Empty lived up to its name, a hollow crater of failures of a past era, a last sad statement of the old world.
In the time following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, Old World Blues became more than a catchphrase.
It became a reality, a withering form of nostalgia for times long past.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, it was all this and more. Old world blues, new world misery. The two became one in the courier's shadow.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The Sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet remained, and it was one the courier had to walk alone.
Oh! Nice. DLC's done. Ugh.